Folks, it's Spoilerin time. This is the show where we deep dive into the history of television and we uncover not only buried treasure, but a jewel, possibly, of television history, both recent and distant. We are watching old episodes of Miami Vice. We are going to talk about season 5, episode 2, Redemption in Blood. Even though it's episode 2, it's part 3 of an ongoing story. But before we get to that, Brian, there's some fear, uncertainty, and doubt we need to deal with.
Yeah, so as I went through the emails this week, I noticed a lot of people are under the mistaken impression that, like, Spoilerin time is going away or whatever. We're still going to talk about all the things that we love and that we're enjoying and watching. More of it will be in the main show, but Spoilerin time... We want to clarify that in this age of abundance, we would like to do things on purpose. Between you, me, and the wall, it'll give us an opportunity to not give rushed recaps of what comes out on Sunday night, but it'll more importantly give us thoughtful commentary on things that we watch from the past.
Also, I feel like we have moved into an era where there are fewer, everybody's watching it. And there's more, ooh, that's a good one, that's a good one, that's a good one. And that lends itself better to being talked about either on Cordkillers in the Buried Treasure segment, which we're going to expand. Like that's where you're going to hear me talk about Lower Decks more, or in After Talk, where we can get a little spoilery and talk about stuff when we're really excited about it. And here we're going to, like Brian said, we're going to focus on an episode so we can give it our full attention.
And again, to peel back the curtain, there's a little bit of like, it's going to be a little bit thin for the next couple of years after the strike. And so we might as well look at old stuff for a while.
Exactly, because there are lots of hidden gems out there. And we're going to look to you for suggestions on where to find those and talk about them. But because we were already doing this Miami Vice based on guest appearances rewatch, we figured we'd stick with that to go into the new era of Spoilerin time. So let's talk about Miami Vice season 5, episode 2, that starts with a very long foot chase. The standout element before we even get into talking about the events of the episode to me is how different these parts were. Part 1 was the end of season 4. Part 2 was the one we all praised as the beginning of season 5. And then this one had an entirely different flavor, even though they're all telling the story of Sonny having an accident and forgetting who he is and getting caught up in a crime family.
Right. So Sonny pulls a full-on Fred Flintstone, gets bonked on the head, thinks he's somebody else, and then later on gets bonked on the head and remembers himself. And that's fine. To be honest, in our text thread, I asked, like, should I go back and watch the beginning? Because I want to give all of this a fair shake. There's kind of two ways we could talk about this. Do we want to talk about the 3-episode arc, or do we want to talk about this particular episode? Because the 3-episode arc, I kind of get that why they would do that in a world of ephemeral Friday night, primetime television. Like, yeah. Could we please do literally anything new and interesting?
They wanted to have their Who Shot JR moment with Sonny losing his memory, right? That was the play with ending the season. And I think you did 2 parts coming back because you really wanted to, like, string it out. Like, will he get his memories back? He shot a cop. Can he come back from that?
Well, supposedly this was, presumably this was like Dick Wolf introducing this idea into the TV landscape in 1989 or 88 of the serialized story. It to be continued.
Instead of the procedural, he was like, "Hey, I think in prime time we could have an ongoing story." That's interesting.
Now, not the first one, but very early on.
Well, and think about look at it through this lens,
and
as
not
well.
Be a soap opera. Yeah.
The very first episode of season 5. Imagine if the plan was always, whatever, end of season 4, just have reasons to connote to the audience that everything is about to get shaken up. Episode 1, season 5, what if maybe Don Johnson was a bad guy? and that was just going to be how it was now.
And that's kind of delicious, right? They did a good job of like, oh no, he really is a bad guy. Like this wasn't like, well, he's kind of a bad guy. I mean, he shot and killed people that he would never have done if he had remembered who he was.
And in fact, there's a moment in this episode that I respect, even though it's, they bonk Fred Flintstone on the head again, and he remembers. But it's interesting to see that Sonny Crockett is weaker than Sonny Burnett. Like once you distinguish those two characters, like that's why he gets made as being a cop. And he's just.
Can we talk about him getting made as a cop?
Okay,
though?
all right, yes,
Okay,
please.
because having the old man just like really heavy-handed, like, hey, criminal, watch out for this guy. This guy's a cop.
He's
like
the heat.
The heat. I did enjoy the unironic use of the heat.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
I found that to be odd because on the one hand, I'm with you, Brian. Like Sonny wasn't strong enough in that moment. And I buy that it's because, he actually is Sonny Burnett. He is Sonny Crockett, sorry, not Sonny Burnett anymore.
Right.
But also I didn't buy how everyone would just turn because this one guy they barely know said he's the heat. Like,
Well, and there's
and he's the boss. He's the boss of the organization. And they'll be like, what? You said he's the heat? Wow,
and
let's
then
get him.
it's like
boys.
they turn like right on a dime too.
Well, again, like there are certain rules for that type of programming. I have too much producer brain now where it's like I understand that it's like, well, I mean, what else you gonna do?
We need more scenes of him kind of getting his memory back, but not getting his memory back for
What
sure.
else you could have done is have them go, what? He's a cop? No, he's not. And have him hesitate because he's Crockett in a way that Burnett wouldn't have. And they're like, hey, maybe he is a cop, right? Like, I don't know, just a little something to feed it is how I would have liked
I
to
was
see it.
very glad in one of the flashbacks to see them reuse the clip where in his sunglasses you can definitely see all of the production set up in the background as they blow up a car.
They had the meme one that oh my god.
Yep.
The whip zooms in this episode were gonna give me whiplash. Just they were really inelegant for the gravitas of what this episode is trying to put across. Like it's so like bad 70s, like whoa.
Cinematography was so good in the last episode, and then we get an entirely different director and crew in this one. And
Is that why it happened? Because like I didn't remember. I burst out laughing many times, and I was like, "Am I being disrespectful? Am I just loopy because it's late?" And like, why is it so hilarious to me that the most crucial moment when he gets his memory back, he just lazily grabs the face of the woman on him and says, "Blah," and then knocks
I don't think
her
he
head.
had
That's
his
not
memory
even when
back.
he gets it back. That's not even
I don't
when
think
he
he had
gets
his memory back at that point.
Wait,
he might have been getting it back, but he didn't have it.
He keeps like
Whatever.
getting a
It was great physical comedy, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. No, it was a weird
inherently
moment,
funny.
nonetheless. Yeah. It was a little bit like on the nose when he got his memory back with the two flashbacks that were clips that were like, well, I'm Sonny Crockett, and now I remember who I am, or whatever they were. Like,
and he says Caitlin. He says the wrong woman's name in bed.
Yeah. Whoa. I did find it disappointing that he just sort of wanders into the police headquarters.
Okay. I have you know
Like
what,
he doesn't
Tom?
call Tubbs and be like, hey, I know this is a tricky situation. Let's talk it out. He just like walks in and opens his locker.
Walks
and then
into an
everyone
empty
points a gun
police
at him.
station. He walks in and nobody's up front. There's he makes it way inside.
Did we haven't brought up Chekhov's Panther, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh my.
Yes, we knew when a panther was introduced in a cage that it must at some point attack someone, and how perfect for it to attack someone who is a gato.
El Gato.
Oh, yeah. By the
As
way,
the person
I
he killed
love the
earlier
fact
in the
that
episode
he's-
said, "You are a gato."
So El Gato is wearing, I believe, the Thundercats logo.
Sure,
on a chain?
he's got like a big cat medallion.
Yep.
El Gato. Whew, what a
unnecessary.
What a completely not needed character.
What a
at
totally
all.
forgettable character that was only there so they could do the panther joke at the end.
But he was. I wouldn't say he's forgettable, but he is the Looney Tunes character
Yes.
in this very serious, very dramatic memory loss episode.
Like, why does he even shoot the guy? There's no point to that. Like, oh, I am a Gato. You're right. Bang.
Don't tell me I'm drunk. I'm
Your
drunk.
death will
Bang.
not be in vain. Yeah.
That actor, who's the actor? Because I wonder if it's
John
the same one-
Polito.
John what?
Polito.
Polito was he in the Miller's Crossing? I looked. He
Yes.
looks like the guy who says, yeah, "You're giving me the high hat." A movie about
yeah, he's
disrespect.
Johnny Casper in Miller's Crossing.
Yeah, right. So I actually really dug that. If you haven't seen it, the Coen Brothers, they did The Big Lebowski and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou or whatever. But Miller's Crossing is essentially about the lengths people will go to earn respect, and that was a little bit kind of that vibe was foreshadowed in this.
Yeah, I suppose so. And very much a Coen Brothers character in a not Coen Brothers setting in a lot of ways.
And not a Coen Brothers execution.
Yeah.
Matt Frewer, I eventually got used to him and kind of like dug him.
This is his episode. He has more.
Yeah, I thought he was the best part of this episode.
Yeah.
He's pretty genius. Yeah. His delivery, his acting, he was convincing in a way that even Sonny wasn't. I'm still confused when Sonny's like, I don't remember shooting Tubbs. I don't remember shooting, but I remember enough to pretend to be the crime boss. And I remember my girlfriend's name, and I remember I had a panther.
Remembers a lot of specific information post fugue state.
Tom,
Yeah.
I remember doing a lot of Cordkillers episodes. I don't necessarily remember what I did during them. Like it's like that flow state thing.
But you're
is
telling
real.
me you remember little details about your time as a crime boss, just conveniently not the parts where you shot and killed people.
Well, okay.
We usually
Is
edit
this
those
the
parts
thing?
out.
Yeah, I was about to say, did I accidentally shoot and kill somebody on this program?
Not that many. Not that many. So they might be forgettable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit last week, where this is the Jan Hammer is no longer the composer for the show, and whoo, boy, does this new guy love guitar solos. Woo. Wow, man.
That's one of those amazing truths that was there in front of my eyes and I didn't see until you just said those words.
Yeah. That's so true.
Oh my God.
And also, I don't know when you checked out of this episode. I checked out at about 27 minutes in about minute 3 of Crockett walking around Miami to music.
Yeah.
This episode was 20 minutes long in reality, because we start with a foot chase that's like the first 15 minutes. Then we had a lot of just walking around Miami.
And half getting his memory back. Just, I don't he just walks right in. He walks right in, but then they they all stick him up immediately. Like, what?
The script says Crockett walks, cut to sizzle reel, previous seasons.
Of Crockett walking. Yeah, they all point their gun. Tubbs indicates that he doesn't believe him anymore because he busts, he doesn't bust out of jail, but he escapes custody. And then at the scene of the bust that he called in, he's like, sorry, I can't stick around. I got to go do something. Like, I thought none of you trusted him.
You're not going to get to walk away from that,
Yeah,
Sonny.
right. It's like, dude, you're a criminal? And he's like, hey, man, I need to go just one errand real quick.
Go to BRB.
Yeah, I gotta stop one of my accomplices from getting arrested. This is essentially what he says.
Also,
Oh yeah, he does. He literally says it. He's like, I have to protect this woman who was in on the fact that we were committing crimes.
Yeah.
I love that I don't think in last episode we really saw Sonny drinking or doing drugs. And we see him drinking in this episode, but they really just tell us like, oh, did you know he's like a what do they call it? A crack Nazi? Do you know he's like wicked on crack all the time now? Just kind of shows up, just kind of happens. They just kind of say
I
it.
totally missed that part. That's amazing.
And then it doesn't show up again. Like in a better show, maybe like Sonny would have like a rehab arc or something. Like they would be like, oh man, all that fugue coke I did.
Yeah.
And also, here's the thing. It's tempting to want to condemn this episode for not being great, but also, like, look, nothing stays around forever. And Hollywood, like, everybody's dialed out, getting ready to, they have to finish making money on this franchise that they built. So I kind of don't blame them for everybody phoning it in and everybody looking distracted and everybody, you know.
I would say so if the last episode hadn't been so much better than this episode, and it's the same plot.
A billion
in the same
times better.
season. Yeah.
Like, even if the task was like a piece of paper that said, please make money on this franchise, sincerely, the executives, then clearly I think we have an idea of which of the two directors was more talented on that.
Yeah, possibly.
I have a note here. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it as written, and apologies for any feisty language. El Gato, at the end of this episode, is the cuck king. He is absolutely, he watches. He sits there outside doors watching Sonny and the blonde lady, like, open mouth, like big kiss, big French kissing. And then he's like, I was watching you. Now I'm shooting you. Like, and then he's got the white glove. Did you see his beautiful white silk gloves as he was shooting?
You know what?
So good.
Given that there's kind of a status thing to that, I wonder if maybe Joel and Ethan Coen, this episode was part of the reason they cast him in Miller's Crossing, a whole movie about status.
Yeah. Bazookaing a boat is the only other note I have.
Oh, yeah.
Did you
okay.
drop
all right.
something?
All right. Wait. Welcome
Yeah.
to Brian's Production Corner Hour. Okay. When you fire a rocket, your body moves in and out. When you just just stand there, thump. Hey, everything's great. There's a blown up boat.
Yeah. The inertial dampers on that bazooka were amazing.
Look, this is Miami Vice. Like,
It was almost casual.
none of the recoil is gonna come on.
The only recoil is from the audience.
I think if you did this, if you did the story arc today, I think you would. I think there's more meat on the bones of this concept.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
I think you would have really leaned into to Burnett as this like criminal savant. Like we do see him like move up the crime ladder very quickly, but I think you would have like almost like Sherlocky mind palacey done like the boats you gotta watch out for bazookas. It's because like you would have.
Why do I have all this knowledge that makes me an amazing crime boss? I have no idea, but I do. Right?
Yeah.
I'm just a genius, I guess. Yeah.
That would be an interesting exercise. Is remap everything that we saw, but with more nuance, like. A psychoactive drug, and this is somebody who is, you may not know this, but you've spent 20 years practicing. You know this in and out, and what if you were trapped in that role, and a hybrid.
I would like, because amnesia is often temporary. When it does happen, I would have liked them to tease that. Like, with amnesia, it should wear off eventually for whatever reason. And if they'd been hammering that, it would have been great instead of getting bonked on the head again, if it just came back in the middle of something and it just all suddenly started flooding in. That could have been extra dramatic. And they still could have used clips from previous episodes if they wanted.
That's so funny. It was, I mean, yes, he did get bonked on the head again, which is our short code for he was in an explosion 2 times.
He was in an explosion that he ran away from and apparently did nothing to his face, but almost blinded him.
And also, like, I really don't understand.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Hold on. Can we talk about, let's start Brian Production Corner Hour. Can we talk about the unveiling of the face? So the camera is wrapped in 3 bandages.
Sure. The classic. It is a classic. It's a classic.
They're implying that it's wrapped all around his face, but it's just a piece of glass, and the guy peels one layer off and clearly grabs the next layer and peels that one off, and then clearly grabs the other one. It's oh my God, it's so.
It looked like that trope looks.
Yeah,
that's all.
It may be the Ur trope.
Oh, okay, all right.
Possibly not the first, but yeah.
Also, Sonny just totally whacked out on Delta 8. It's just such a great sight. Just seeing his ass like,
Oh my God.
Sativa.
That's what we get uncovered.
Sativa.
I lied when I said I didn't have any other notes. I have two more notes. One, Matt Frewer, without irony, tells Celeste, try the veal. If nothing else, it proves his acting chops that he was able to deliver that line.
He was able to sell it.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you noticed what was on the TV when Sonny was drunk. And he's just sitting there,
like
and he had multiple television. There was some racing, and there was Aussie rules football, apparently.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was literally the cheapest sport that they could license.
It possibly was what ESPN was showing at that time in its history. It could have been, but I'm guessing it was the license-free thing that they thought they could get away with. Yeah.
What a bizarre arc. What a fascinating journey of like watching a project get handed around to different people who handle it differently.
Yeah, I think El Gato changed sexualities 3 times across these episodes.
He's definitely wearing a blouse in the shot that we're looking at right now. He's wearing a blouse and it has the Thundercats logo on
The
him.
best fashions. This fashion's coming back.
Yeah.
Also, this will be interesting to see because I feel like they have really tried to make the aesthetic of the show very dark these past few episodes. I think because Sonny's in this like inverted position.
You're right. They broke Style Guide.
Yeah, he's been wearing these big dark suits the whole time.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see if they either keep it being a little grittier when presumably we come back next episode, or if it's going to kind of stay gritty. Because I know that was something that I saw rumblings of when we talked about last week's episode.
And to that point, next week, we will be watching the next episode. So it's no longer part of the 3-episode story arc, although one presumes we're going to have some fallout from Sonny. There's at least going to be a scene where they're like, oh, I'm glad you passed the internal investigation and you're reinstated, Sonny, or something, right? I'll be curious how they handle that.
Apparently,
yeah,
that is written into the season, and that the execution of it was screwed up because they changed the shooting order, or they changed the airing order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We'll find out.
We are watching Heart of Night, because Rosalind Chow, best known for her roles on Star Trek and MASH, as well as the Joy Luck Club, will be a guest star in this episode.
And then we're going to have to decide, like, at this point, we're kind of invested in Miami Vice. Do we just want to unironically watch
Did I just buy the whole
season?
Maybe I should just buy to complete the season. Because that burned me last season, in season 4. I bought so many episodes, it stopped offering me to finish the season for cheaper.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we could let's talk about that in After Talk if we want to commit to the handful of episodes and just finish it all the way out.
Okay, yeah. Where would they go to hear that?
We can go ahead and watch Heart of Night next week either way, though.
Yeah.
So don't, if you're listening, that will be the watch that we talk about next week.
Nice.
If you want to keep continuing to support this and get After Talk, where we talk about more shows, become a patron. Patreon.com/Cordkillers for as little as $2 a month or less, but why? Support us, become our boss, tell us what to do, tell us what to watch. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.